Hi, good day. Hi, Neetu. How are you doing?
I'm good, CK. How are you doing?
Good. Very good. Very good. Thank you. Thank you. I think, the more we are talking and sharing in our videos about different aspects of business from an entrepreneur point of view, right? The more we realize there's so much more to cover, right?
I so
And in the last,
agree with
yeah,
that.
absolutely. Yeah, there's no end to it because there's so many different aspects of business which need to get covered. So, while we spoke about how to reinvent your business, whether you're a mid-sized business or a small business in our earlier videos, we also spoke about, by being small, actually, it's an advantage. It's not a disadvantage. How quickly you can move and how nimble you can be, and how, you know, you can actually beat your competition because of being small.
Mhm.
While that's an advantage, I think the context for today's video is more about the fact that what people want to achieve is to move fast. What they end up doing is moving slow.
Yes, you're so
And the
right.
main reason for that is in finally it boils down to people, right? Having the right people at the right place at the right time, right? And which is why in our experience of over a decade of working with entrepreneurs, both Neetu and myself have come across this all the time, that
Correct.
you know people are the bottleneck, and HR as a function is uh, devalued. It's really devalued in most entrepreneur firms, SMEs, family businesses, startups. It is not taken seriously enough. It's not given the kind of importance that other functions like finance or maybe sales or production, etc., are given. So HR somehow is kept slightly lower down. It's more focused on things like admin and things like that. So what we really thought was that this whole topic itself is so vast, right? But
Mhm.
today's video, we're just going to be focusing on the first aspect of HR, which is in terms of how to plan for the kind of talent and resources that you need for achieving your growth plan. And the second part is in terms of once you've done the planning, how do you make sure that your talent acquisition approach, hiring the right people at the right time with the right kind of competencies, is so important for the rest of your journey to be productive. Right? So
Fantastic.
today we're just going to cover that part of HR. There are many other aspects about talent management, culture, retention, which we will cover subsequently in the videos. Yeah. So I was talking Neetu about this whole point about HR often being seen as more to do with admin, right?
Hmm.
What has been your sort of experience in that domain? Right?
Great. So, it's a very interesting topic for me because I have spent so many years in the HR function too, right?
Yeah,
So, let's take a step back and understand the very beginning of the HR function, especially in a small organization. So, initially, when the entrepreneur sets up his business or her business, they predominantly wear the HR hat. Okay. And even at that time, the HR functions are limited to either recruitment or in administration, HR administration responsibilities. Now, as the organization grows, let's say to 10, 15, or even 20 employees, the owner starts realizing that it's taking away a lot of his or her time, which they can use for other strategic reasons, right? So that's the time when they realize, okay, I need to have somebody who's going to take over these HR responsibilities. So they are looking at delegating this. Invariably, at this stage, they look at people who are already there in the organization. They rarely go out and get somebody for how handling the HR role exclusively. So this is where they look at either handing this over to the admin person who's handling admin responsibilities, or to the finance person who's handling the finance and accounting person. Now, this is, in my opinion, the very first mistake that people do when they are offloading the HR responsibility to somebody else within the organization. Some of them are even get an intern or a junior person to take on the HR responsibility. Now, here I would like to kind of, give an analogy. Think about this: we have a pilot who flies a plane, and we have a maintenance expert who maintains the plane. Now, the pilot cannot do the maintenance expert's work, and the maintenance expert cannot fly the pilot, though both of them are actually working on the same plane. And imagine if this role is reversed, and the pilot lands up repairing or maintaining the plane, and the expert starts flying the plane. At some point of the time, the plane is going to crash. And this is actually what happens when you hand over the responsibility of an HR to a non-trained professional. Now, let's start with the first responsibility for an HR person, is the workforce planning. Right? What happens at this stage is that the organization starts preparing to hire before they actually start hiring. What does it mean? At this stage, the HR actually sits with the business and tries to understand what are the business plans? What does the business need? What are the goals that we want to achieve? How soon do we want to achieve? What are the human resources that you need to achieve those goals within that stipulated period of time? Now, how many of those resources are there within the organization already? How many of those resources can be developed from some of the existing team members? And then how many do we need to go and hire from outside? Right? So this is the workforce planning stage that happens. And again, an admin person and a finance person may not be able to do this in the kind of strategic level thinking that is required, which a trained HR person is required to do. Right? So that's a very first part. And if you go wrong in your planning, everything else is actually, tumbles along with it. It's like a dominoes effect. So I liked what you said to me earlier, CK, that hiring the HR, okay, is the first good hiring practice that the organization needs to do. Because if you hire or hand over the HR responsibility to the wrong person, it's like a dominoes effect. Things will start falling downwards, maybe not immediately, but over a period of time, and that will go completely unnoticed by the organization.
Absolutely.
Right? So that's the part talking about the whole workforce planning, especially for a smaller organization where, the impact of one person's productivity and non-productivity actually can be visibly seen, maybe even on the balance sheet of the organization. Right? So it's so much more important that you have the HR at a strategic level to be able to address all of these much before the issues crop up, right? And then, of course, we have the talent acquisition piece. Would you want to cover that, CK?
Yeah, in fact, just while you were saying the last sentence, actually, I was shaking my head because, HR playing a strategic role, I think it's a dream in most entrepreneur firms. Right?
Correct.
Maybe it happens in large corporates, but, I've had experiences of working with companies which are 20 crores, 10 crores, 5 crores, 50 crores, right? And you'll be surprised, even 20 crore companies were running with just junior HR, junior HR resource whose only job was focusing on attendance, payroll, and recruitment, hiring people.
Correct.
Right? So that person was so junior that he or she could not possibly had the full picture itself in terms of what is the strategy of the company, what is the growth strategy of the company, why are they hiring who they want to hire. They'll just say, we want a sales head, or we want a sales manager in this location, or we want 5 salespeople in this location. What are the context for that? More often than not, they are not even involved in it. So I think one fundamental mistake. Yeah.
They don't even question, okay, why do
they
you
don't
need
question it. Yeah. They'll just say, just give me the job description and give me the budget. I will talk to a few recruiters, or I'll get into Naukri and try and get some profiles. Right.
Correct.
So I think the problem starts with the importance given to HR. And so in most organizations, like you mentioned, I always say, first of all, get your HR manager in place. We are not talking of a very senior HR head, but get an HR manager who comes with 5, 6, 7 years of experience, who's done this kind of thing before, who can talk to the owner from a position of experience,
Got
and
that.
not from a position of give me directions, I will do it kind of stuff.
Correct.
Right. So I think involving HR at the business planning stage, saying, look, these are the 3 divisions that we are focusing on. This is the kind of growth we're looking at. This is the kind of people we will need to bring into the system. Our existing people are okay, but that may not be adequate.
Correct.
Now, here again, the mistake that a lot of entrepreneurs make is that they say, we anyway have existing people, let's try and get the best out of them. Now, existing business people are used to working in a particular way. They're used to working at a particular pace. And suddenly you as an entrepreneur are looking at scaling up your business rapidly. You want to grow at 30, 40, 50% year on year. The current team may not be capable of doing it.
Correct.
You need to bring in fresh blood. And when you bring in fresh blood, you need to clearly define what kind of people I need, what kind of skill set and competencies they require, what is their job description, what is the kind of industries you want to get them from, what kind of salary you need to pay for them, right? Quite often these things are not thought through. A couple of resumes are put together, and a couple of interviews happen, and sometimes you're in a hurry, so you compromise and just end up taking a candidate
Correct.
who may end up being the wrong choice, right? So I think all this happens because of lack of time spent on planning. What kind of talent do I require? What kind of skill sets do I need to bring? And am I going to be stuck on the fact that, look, I want people only from my industry? I've seen entrepreneurs lose months and months and months looking for people only from their industry. And I keep questioning why. Why? It's nice to have. If you get somebody from the industry, great, right? But unless that particular job is so specialized, like you said, a pilot's job cannot be done by somebody else, right? Unless that job is so specialized where you need somebody who's done this kind of role itself earlier, it's fine. But there are multiple roles where people could have worked in other industries and can easily adapt to the requirements of your industry. And I find a lot of resistance to that point, that look, no, we want only from the industry. And I literally have to break that myth that, look, a good employee will adjust and adapt. They possibly just need 1 or 2 months or 3 months of training, induction, handholding, and they'll figure it out, right? Because they are good at picking up stuff. But don't compromise. Don't compromise and try to pay less salary and do that. A lot of entrepreneurs we worked with, we found that by compromising on the salaries you pay, you end up compromising on the quality of the person you get. And then 3 months later, you end up saying that, look, it was a wrong choice, or this person is not shaping up. And I tell the entrepreneurs on the face, the problem is not with the person you hired. The problem is the person who hired that person, right? It was a wrong hiring in the first place, right? The problem was not with that individual. So these are hard messages that, nobody gives an entrepreneur. And I would not expect the HR junior person or HR manager to give this message to the entrepreneur that, look, you are making a mess of it, right? So this is where people like us, mentors, coaches, are able to call a spade and highlight the importance of the right kind of planning, the right kind of talent acquisition process in terms of recruitment. And I think, Neetu, you can talk about this whole recruitment piece because you've been in the industry for so long. The kind of mistakes that are normally made at the recruitment stage, even after you've defined the kind of person you want, you still go wrong with hiring the wrong people. Right?
Yes.
So maybe you could just share a little bit on that.
See, again, a lot of it is, like you said, it's because the HR resource is just following instructions rather than thinking beyond those instructions. Why do we need? What is the person going to be doing? What's the kind of roles and responsibilities beyond that? What are the challenges? What is the behavior that you expect with the person to have? So these are the questions that are going to be that a trained resource is going to ask. And then now, once you have all of these, which is part of your job description, The next thing is to figure out how I'm going to evaluate a candidate for all of these things, right? Again, again, in smaller organizations, it's quite often that the interviewer himself or herself is not trained on actually doing the interviews, right? So they don't know how to ask the relevant questions. They don't know. They don't know what are the pitfalls in just an interview itself. If you know, right now, it has been uh, already been researched that interview is actually not the best way to select somebody. There are so many other ways that we can do, and that's not being utilized properly in an organization in the industry. So that's where the HR comes and says, okay, you know what? These competencies, we're going to evaluate it like this. These competencies, we're going to evaluate it like this. So if there are 2-3 managers or 2-3 levels of interviews happening, okay, there need to be a unified system to evaluate a candidate. Most often what happens is each of the interview layers, it could be, let's say, the manager, then the head, and then the CEO of the organization. Each of them is following their own system of interviewing somebody. They are evaluating them on different points based on their different evaluation systems, I would say. So ultimately what happens is the decision to hire or not hire is almost like a collective gut feeling. Okay, so you are averaging out by doing something like this. So that's where an HR would come and actually even train the interviewers and tell them, what are you supposed to do? How are you supposed to evaluate those processes? Okay, and I like what you said. When that a person is not able to, is very busy sitting and doing admin work and only recruitment work, and these are again non-trained professionals. You see, most of these organizations who have such a situation will also have a high level of attrition. The HR will be spending 60-70% of their time hiring and rehiring for the same position again and again and again. Okay.
So I was joking with one of my clients. I said, look, are you a manufacturing company? Are you a training company? Because all I'm seeing in the last 6 months, you're hiring, training, firing, hiring, training, firing, hiring, training, firing.
Absolutely. And it's a reality, right?
Are you even looking at the business impact of that, the financial impact of loss of productivity, loss of revenue, loss of market share because of this constant churning of wrong hirings that's going on? And a lot of people don't look at the business impact. Okay? They look at, by delaying hiring by 3 months, I'm saving 3 months of salary. You're possibly losing 6 months of business in the process. So I think that's the way of changing the perspective of looking at the cost of non-conformance, cost of wrong hiring, cost of delayed hiring. Yeah, I think that is the important part that I want to stress on as well, building on what you were saying.
A couple of years ago, there was a research that was done that said the cost of wrong hiring or no hiring is equal to 8 times the industrial salary of the industry level, salary of the person per month. So if you're hiring a person who's, let's say, industry average salary is 2 lakhs, whether if you're hiring the wrong person or you're not hiring for that position, you're actually losing out on 16 lakhs per month because of that situation. And that's a couple of years ago. So I'm sure the number has completely changed right now, right? So yes, that hiring can make a huge difference. And sometimes, you don't see the impact of that right now. You see it after a couple of months, years, when it's already too late. And again, small organizations, a big portion of the employees are customer facing.
Yeah.
So all these, limitations, all these cracks in your HR strategy actually gets visible to your customers out there. So that's just and we've just touched scratched the top, the surface of the importance of HR and what can happen if you don't have the right resources. Then, of course, a lot more that we can talk about, which is around the areas of we're talking about the development plans, we're talking about the compliance pieces, we're talking about employee grievances management, then we're talking about culture, big piece over there. So there are a lot of things that we need to cover, and I'm sure that we will be covering that in our subsequent videos.
Yeah, we'll cover all that under the video of talent management. Till now, we were talking more about the talent planning and talent acquisition. I think
Yes.
next video we'll be talking about the talent management piece, how to get the best out of your resources. Right?
Perfect.
And
Great.
there's so much more in HR series itself that we will cover, so that as entrepreneurs you would be able to relate to it in terms
Correct.
of the pain points that you have faced in the past, and at least try to avoid these pitfalls going forward. Yeah.
Got that.
Yeah.
Got that. Great.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much. And I'll see you again next week.
Thank
Bye,
you.
CK.
Bye.